What's up, Mississauga? Khaled here from Insauga.com, and I have the mayor of Mississauga, once again, Bonnie Crombie with us. How you doing?
Hey, Khaled. I'm very well. Happy New Year to you, to
Happy
all
New
your
Year.
viewers.
Yeah, it's first time this year, 2019.
I know, we've seen each other, yes.
Yeah. How you been?
I've been great. Recovering from a stomach flu, but had a little break over Christmas, so recharged.
Nice. Okay, good.
Recharged.
Good. So I have a bunch of questions for you, so let's get started.
Let's do it.
You've talked about leaving Peel Region in the past, and with Doug Ford talking about realigning regions, what are your thoughts on that?
So a regional governance review was announced at AMO back in August, so we knew it was coming. We heard that towards the end of January they would announce the review and what it would look like. I have heard from them that they're going to do their due diligence and allow us 45 to 60 days of consultation. So we'll have the opportunity to present our case, which we are sharpening our pencils now to update our metrics, because we do believe that there are efficiencies, because when you have two levels of government, there's got to be duplication. Plus, Mississauga has been the funding partner for the Region of Peel for the past 44 years. So we know that there are savings and efficiencies to be found. The last time we did the study, about 15 years ago, there were $32 million in savings to the residents of Mississauga. And so we are hoping that we'll find something on the same scale. We believe that that money should be reinvested into our own growth rather than go to the region to support the other municipalities' growth. And we also feel very strongly that Mississauga should control our own destiny. We should have everybody at the table to make decisions. There are cities, municipalities that are much smaller than Mississauga, which is Canada's 6th largest city, the 3rd largest in Ontario. Toronto, Ottawa, Mississauga, and you've got, when you think about it, Windsor, Hamilton, Guelph, London, Barrie, Sudbury, Thunder Bay, all single tier. So why Mississauga? So we think this is a great opportunity. We know that they are looking at amalgamation where it makes sense, but they did say it won't be a one-size-fits-all approach, and everyone will have the opportunity for consultation and to present their case. So I look forward to it.
Cool.
Yeah, and Mayor Brown and Brampton and I have discussed it, and they're going to do their due diligence as well, and we're going to work very cooperatively, actually.
Cool.
And I think they'll be a partner because, Brampton is about the same size Mississauga was when Hazel first raised this. Okay. So if we could stand alone back then, I'm pretty certain that they can stand alone now as well.
So this is a good segue. Talking about amalgamation.
Yes.
Okay. How would you like to be the queen of Mississauga if Brampton,
that'll always be Hazel's title. Come on.
Freaking Hazel. But if Brampton and Mississauga kind of get amalgamated into one city, what do you think of that scenario?
I don't think that's the direction they'll go. I really don't. I really don't. Certainly I would run for the job, and I'm sure Mayor Brown will too. But I don't think that's the direction they'll go. We've made a very compelling case that there are savings, efficiencies, we cut red tape if we're single tier. And that's the language that the Premier and the Ford government understand, savings, efficiencies, and there are lots of those to be found. So I don't think that will be the approach. I'm very hopeful that it's not. Okay.
Your relationship with Doug Ford.
Yeah.
Have you met with him? I think you did, right?
Oh, so, yes. So informally a number of times, but we had a wonderful formal meeting where I had a briefing binder in front of him, for myself and him and his key staffers. We went through all our key priorities, all our key issues. I presented them. I presented the business case for each of our issues. He was very impressed. Okay. I said, we will be your poster child, Premier. You will come away from this saying Mississauga is open for business. Mississauga is the business capital of Canada. And that in Mississauga, they find savings and efficiencies for their residents. Those are the messages I left for him. Good. So very good. Good. I know how to approach them. You take a very business-like approach with them. I know the language they speak. They speak in efficiencies and savings, and so that's what we're good at. Okay.
LRT, because is it going to be built?
That train is on track.
Okay, good.
Leaving the station soon. The RFPs are out, and we're very hopeful. I have no reason to think anything different. Okay. The RFPs are out. We've done an enormous amount of work. I mean, it's actually vital It's vital to the growth, the transformation of our city. So many of our developments are already inextricably linked to it. Parking considerations have been given for condominiums that are being built. Employers, job creators have chosen the Ontario corridor because that train was coming. So there are already 3,850 companies on that corridor.
Wow.
Okay, 27 of our Fortune 500 of our 73 Fortune 500 companies are within 1 kilometer of the corridor. There are 140,000 people there now, and there'll be 200. There'll be double that by 2040. So that corridor is critical. And it's critical to our growth, especially around the downtown where I have 25 new towers. So when you think about the residents, the businesses, the employers, and the growth is inextricably linked to the LRT. So I'm very hopeful. And that is the message I gave Premier Ford. I called it a surface subway because I know he likes subways. And I said,
way to spin it.
so you need density for a subway, and we don't have it in Mississauga.
Okay.
So I mean, we couldn't pay the operating costs on a subway. So it's a surface subway. It does the same thing. It moves people through Mississauga. It links the 2 of our GO train stations on the Lakeshore line at Port Credit and on the Milton line at Cooksville. It goes up to the Brampton border. And it's the north-south spine of a regionally integrated transit system.
So you got the okay from Doug? Is Doug said, yes, it's going to happen?
We're nodding. They have not said no. We're moving forward. We are moving forward. I have no reason to believe that train's not on track.
Okay, perfect. Okay, cannabis.
Yes.
Okay, you and council voted no for now.
Yes.
So tell us the reason behind that.
Okay, so we're known for doing our homework. You know, Hazel taught us all to do our homework and study things, and we felt that we had one opportunity to get this right, and we wanted to get it right out of the gate. And we thought, you know, we're not comfortable with the lack of control that municipalities have. Like Toronto expressed the same concerns about, you know, where are these stores, these retail outlets going to locate? We don't feel that 150 meters is sufficient distance between schools and cannabis retail shops. There are other sensitive uses that weren't defined, like daycares, community centers, you know, maybe hospitals, bus stops, whatever. There are other sensitive uses that weren't defined. We weren't told how many stores. We don't know. And my bigger concern was concentration of stores. So now that we know Brampton is opting in, Toronto's opting in, so will I have a plethora, a concentration of stores along those borders? What about Port Credit? If I have 5 storefronts for lease, will I get 5 cannabis shops? No, so there's nothing to, no control for cities to say, no, you know, we already have 2 cannabis stores here, we don't need a 3rd one. The controls weren't there. Okay. So I wrote a very detailed letter to the Premier and said, look, it's not no forever, but it's no now. We want to get this right. So please give us a little more control about how many stores, where they could be located, a little more separation distance. And, you know, we could see a path. But not now. We want to see the experience in the other municipalities that are going forward, and we'll see how it works, how it happens. You know, we do get first-year funding.
Yeah.
And by the 2nd year, I'm hopeful that maybe he'll have made some changes, and we could opt in by the 2nd year. So everyone gets the funding first year.
Okay.
So we still get the same money to address the social issues, the public education issues, roadside control, policing, bylaw enforcement, etc. We do get the funding for the first year.
So opening back up 2020?
So it's not, well, you know, it's not about legalization of cannabis. It's just about a little more control for municipalities. And so once he gives us the signal, because Toronto expressed the same concerns, right? But they obviously, they opted in, and I understand that. And I have a council that's a little more cautious. I don't know if you remember back to the Uber debate. We had to do the 1-year test pilot before we, you know, brought back Uber for consideration. So we're a little more cautious. We take our time, and there's nothing wrong with that. Cool. There's nothing wrong with that. We want to get it right.
Yes. What is Mississauga doing to tackle crime in 2019?
It's an excellent question. So certainly last summer of 2018, we had an uptick in violent crime. And I think I'm not the only mayor of a municipality, of a city that was very concerned. We are all concerned about what the root causes of crime were, why this uptick, what was causing it, and what were the solutions. So what I did, it was during the election period, the campaign period, so it was a bit awkward, but I gathered all the relevant parties together. 3 levels of government, my council, federal members, provincial members, chief of police, all her deputies, inspectors, and then all the relevant organizations, whether they were United Way, YMCA, all the delivery bodies for youth at risk programming or newcomer integration programming, all the relevant bodies to come together to discuss root causes of crime. What do we do about it? Why do people feel insecure, and what are the solutions? So if youth are at risk programming, perhaps we haven't invested. Maybe all the municipalities across the GTA, maybe the programs weren't in place. Maybe youth were troubled. Maybe this is an area we need to address, right? Okay. Illegal handguns. What do we do to solve that situation? Are there gangs? What are the issues? So we had I called it a public safety summit.
Yep.
And we had a lot of recommendations came out of it. And of course now Chief Evans has retired, so rejoin the police board. We'll be hiring a new chief, and so this will be top of mind. We'll gather everyone again in first quarter once the new chief, so when they're identified, get their feet wet and understand the issues to see where we are. Things seem to have stabilized. And so it's interesting to understand what could have caused that uptick that summer. And, whether it was gang activity, youth at risk, illegal guns, there was even a suggestion that in hot, humid weathers, there's an uptick in crime, and it was a very hot, humid summer. So there are a lot of factors that combine, but of course we were concerned, and I have had an opportunity to see the police budget, and I know the outgoing chief, she's retired, Evans, has asked for 55 new officers, which is the maximum that could be accommodated in police college. 55 plus extra money for modernization equipment and tools and technology. So I know that it was a very strong police community safety budget that was put forward. So we told her we will give her the tools and the resources she needs to address the issue. And then we'll follow up and double back on where are we today, what has happened, why did it stabilize, and where do we go from here.
Where's your take on carding or street checks now? So
carding isn't allowed. We never did carding in Peel. We did street checks. But I think you saw from the Justice Michael Tulloch report that we really feel that was an encroachment on people's civil rights and liberties, and people should not be stopped without reason and asked for their identification and explanation on who they were and why they were there. There has to be reasonable cause to stop someone in the process of solving a crime. You should not be questioned because of you're walking down the street and police officer just thinks you're out of. I'm not sure why they would, but but we did stop street checks in Peel, and I know in Toronto as well. And so right now they're only in certain circumstances. The numbers have declined dramatically. Only a handful of street checks have been done in the past year, and they have to be with cause. So officers need to have a concern about why you are where you are, and they have to be in the active investigation of a crime to stop you and ask you for your information.
I believe there was 2. I think that's what
I think you're right.
So.
Less than a handful.
Yeah, exactly. So next topic, affordable housing. We're talking about rent going up, housing going up in Mississauga.
That's an excellent topic.
What's the affordable housing strategy in Mississauga?
Well, I'm proud to tell you we have one.
All right, good.
Unlike other municipalities, we did create a plan. It's called Making Room for the Middle. Now, on rising rents, the previous provincial government put some rent controls in place. It'll be interesting to see what the new government will do, whether they'll lift those or not. Rents seem to have stabilized, but we're always concerned that if you lift the rent control, what happens? I think they can only go up a certain percentage each year, 1.8, I believe, percentage a year, provincially. Now, what we did to address the issue, and yes, there are subsidized housing, and we deal with that at the region of Peel, and we're always investing in new, more inventory so that we can get those numbers of people on the wait lists down. Now, in terms of affordability, our concern in Mississauga were people getting priced out of the market, and we wanted people who worked in Mississauga to also live in Mississauga. We don't want people to have long commutes, take time away from their family, that's stress. We want you to live and work in Mississauga. And so we wanted to be sure that people who are employed, especially middle class income earners, which we were defining as $80,000 to $100,000 family household income.
Yeah.
Household income. What can they afford? So it's about $1,200 in rent. Or to purchase around $250 to $450 range, depending, right? So how can we ensure that there's an inventory of product available for middle class income earners? And that might take some of them off the subsidized list and get them into something they can afford affordable. So we created a strategy called Making Room for the Middle Class, and our goal is to have 35% of all future builds be affordable.
Okay.
And defined as to either rent geared to income or to purchase. So in the $1,200 range for rent geared to income, of course that'll vary by income, or affordable in the the $250 to $400 range to purchase. And we came up with 40 recommendations, things like inclusionary zoning, making basement apartments, secondary units more easily accessible, more easily to build out, demolition control, so that if a developer comes purchase a property and it has, say, a dozen or 20, 25 affordable units in it, if they plan to build a new tower, they have to replace that. And probably there will be another element for inclusionary, so whatever that number is, we haven't defined it yet, whether it's 5% or 10%, in some municipalities it's even higher, percent of affordable in that new development as well.
Okay.
So replace what you took, and then make sure you meet the goal for the inclusionary zoning goal as well. And we are willing to work with a co-op house that wants to build affordability. For developers, it says I'll build 2 towers. One of them I'll put a lot of affordability in. If you let me have the other one as a little higher end, we're willing to work with them to defer their DCs or provide whatever incentives that are at our disposal that we can. We're willing to do that. So there's a report coming to council this spring, summer, that will define which of those 40 recommendations are realistic for us in Mississauga and what we're willing to go forward with, right?
Okay.
So we're really happy about that because we're ahead of a lot of we're ahead of them all because we have a plan, we have a strategy, we know what we want to accomplish, and now we're working on what are the best ways to get us there.
Cool. Now I always bring up subways. Okay, so I know that Doug Ford is trying to upload the TTC.
Right.
Would it make sense for Mississauga to get a subway to Square One?
Okay.
If that happens.
Okay, so I welcomed the Premier. So first of all, our LRT is a surface subway.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Surface subway.
Yeah.
I welcomed the Premier, thanked him for the opportunity to build a subway to our doorstep. No problem, please.
Yep.
But we don't have the density. They've done the analysis on the Scarborough subway.
Yeah.
You need people. You need density to operate a subway, and so we wouldn't be able to, even if they built it for us, which would probably take 20 years, right? We wouldn't be able to pay the operating costs. And if we had to build it, we couldn't afford to build it. So remember, we were given $1.4 billion to build LRT. If we would raise it above the road, say like a monorail, that was 4 times the cost. If you were to tunnel it and bury it like a subway, 7 times the cost.
True.
So it became unaffordable, and it also, the operating costs were too great. So there wasn't a business case. And then when I met with the Premier, I presented the business case on the LRT, that 60,000 people use that route. 60,000 people. So we go from 50 people on a bus to 200 people on a train. Bob's your uncle, it works beautifully. We can pay for it, we can afford to run it and operate it. Well, we don't, because it'll be a engineer, design, build, and operate.
So, okay.
And it's a Metrolinx project.
Yes, yeah. So,
but it is affordable.
And if they built the subway, we'd be dead by the time they build it. So,
right, and this should break ground later this year. So
True.
We just want to move people.
True.
And get cars off the road too, right?
Yep.
It provides people with choice. I know in Mississauga people are attached to their cars, their automobiles, but it gives them a choice, right? They can leave it behind. And certainly many of the condo towers that have been built and are being built in the downtown Mississauga area have lower parking considerations because the train's coming.
True. You went to the GTA Mayor Summit.
I did.
That John Tory held.
It was very good.
Tell me about that. Who'd you meet? Was everybody cool? Were all the mayors cool?
Yes. Marianne Mead Ward and I from Burlington are the only women.
Yeah.
which was surprising because a lot of our councils are made up of women, but only the 2 mayors of the GTA.
Okay.
GTHA, because Hamilton was invited.
You get along with her?
Oh, yeah, she's
okay.
great.
Yeah.
She knows her stuff. She's been a counselor. She was terrific. Well, so we talked about our commonalities and speaking with one voice. There are issues on which we have a lot in common. There's a lot of synergy. So we talked about the federal issues and the PTIF money that came, the federal funding for transit, transportation, infrastructure, for housing affordability, the Green Fund. What were the federal issues? Of course, Mayor Tory, near and dear to his heart is mental illness and opioid crisis. We put that on our radar as kind of federal issues as well. And, what are the common themes? Let us speak with one voice as the GTA HA mayors. And then we went through the provincial list. And it happened to be the day that the governance study was announced.
Yeah.
Also, the Greenbelt land, the growth plan revisions were announced. So it was an opportunity for us to add those two to the agenda as well. We talked about the provincial issues and working with the new government. It was a very positive meeting. I
heard that happened actually during the time you guys were in a meeting.
I asked that those items be put on the agenda, and I read out the press release.
Okay.
I was reading it out. So this is what this is who's operating on the panel, and these are the 2 co-chairs, and this is what they're studying, and I think we should put this on our radar. I mean, other than Toronto, it affects the rest of us.
True. So.
Right. So it was a very good meeting because the former government met with the GTH mayors just about quarterly.
Yeah.
3 or 4 times a year.
Okay.
And so we're hopeful that whether the new premier's approach will be the same, and if not, we will continue to meet so that we can speak with one voice. It's much easier for us to deliver a message with one voice. So what are the common issues? What are the common themes? What are the synergies? How can we be most effective? Because don't forget, some of us are on big city mayors, and the rest of us are on
towns?
LUMCO, Large Urban Mayors of Ontario.
Oh, okay.
And some of them are on MARCO, the mayors and chairs, and some of them are on ROMA, which is the rural municipalities.
Smaller. Hazel McCallion
Yes.
and her new job.
Oh, it's very exciting. Come on. She's our secret weapon.
Okay, I gotta ask though, because she's getting paid 150 Gs for this role.
Okay. Do you know that for sure? Because I read it and it said she will be paid a per diem up to 150.
Okay.
So check, because I'm not sure.
Still a nice per diem.
Listen, you gotta pay for talent these days. Talent's
That's true.
expensive.
Okay.
This is one effective lady. She knows her stuff.
Okay.
But I don't believe she's on the governance panel. She's just being an advisor to the premier.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I was very happy to see that she would have a role at the province, and I mean, there's no one better than Hazel McCallion knows municipal issues.
Yeah, true.
Clearly.
Cool. And as long as we have Hazel on Doug's side, I'm happy.
That's right. That's right. You see, it's very positive. It's all good news. I called her, congratulated her. We had a nice chat. It was wonderful.
I had this question from Twitter, I believe, and it asked, when are we going to build another office building, a major office building in the city center? Because there hasn't been one,
You're right.
I think, for about 20, 25 years.
You're right. So that is our desire as well, and the market hasn't been ready for it.
Okay.
But some of the new towers that are being built in the downtown do have some office components of them. But you're quite right; it is our goal as well, and there will be continued development in that downtown core. I mean, when we did participate in the Amazon bid, it was the downtown core that we submitted as possible office towers where Amazon could be housed. So, and then there are the bench lands, right along Rathburn. Those are all for office development too. So we're waiting. Time isn't quite right, but we're almost there.
Cool. Your relationship with Patrick Brown and Brampton, how is it?
So Patrick and I know each other from federal politics.
Okay.
We were both members of Parliament in Ottawa. He was the president, I was the chair, I was the vice chair of the Canada-India Friendship Association.
Okay.
So we know each other very well. I mean, I'll be honest, I was a little surprised when he was going to run for regional chair because he didn't have a long history in the region, but look, he's successfully became Mayor Brampton. I respect him. He's the confidence of the people, and so we have we interact regularly. He often sends me a text, or I do him, and especially on regional issues like this vote's coming up. Where does Brampton Council sit on this? He'll ask me where Mississauga Council sits on things. We're on police board together now, so we're talking about policing and what are the next step to hire a chief. We're working very collaboratively. We have an excellent relationship, I will say.
Cool. Very last question.
Okay.
What's the next big thing for you in the next 4 years? What's the biggest thing you want to accomplish in the next 4 years?
I'll tell you, we did achieve one goal, which I'm so proud of. So we've one of my pet projects is to support the food bank,
Okay.
and we've been raising money through the One Bag Challenge campaign. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be amazing if we could raise $1 million and 1 million pounds of food? And we did that.
Nice.
So in 4 years, we accomplished that. So now we need the next big project. So certainly that the affordable housing gets kicked off, the LRT breaks ground. I want to see Lakeview break ground, the West Village break ground. There's so much development occurring. There's so much going on, right? That I don't need new initiatives right now. Let's get shovels in the ground and so complete what we've started. So lots going on, so much in Mississauga. And for me, it's about building a complete city and a more livable, walkable city.
Sure.
Scale. People love their communities. Mississauga was a city created out of villages and towns and neighborhoods, and that's wonderful. But now we're retrofitting in transit corridors like on here Ontario and parallel to the 403 and Dundas Street and hopefully on Lakeshore. And we're intensifying, and so there's a different scale, a different grid pattern. It makes it more, you can leave your car at home and walk to the store or walk to work. And the lakefront is so exciting.
Yeah.
I've got to tell you, I'm just over the moon. I'm so elated about the development occurring. That 250 acres at plus 65 acres for the Jim Tovey Conservation Park, the Lakeview area, the OPG lands. 67 of them will go back to the city for cultural zone, educational, innovation, and then also the West Village land, 72 acres. And these are going to be state-of-the-art communities. District energy, the kind of town where if you have waste, you put it down a tube, it goes rolling, and one truck comes to pick it all up from everywhere at the end of the day. It's just state-of-the-art, modern technology. We think about all those Norwegian, Swedish little towns with all their modern technology. This is what this will be. And I think the eyes of the world are on us as we build out our waterfront into these beautiful new communities, livable, walkable communities that are live-work. You will live there, work there, you go to school, you can have your culture, entertainment, recreation.
But will it have a Ferris wheel?
Maybe not. Maybe not a
You
Ferris
said
wheel.
no?
You want a Ferris wheel?
Yeah, that'd be great. At Lakefront, there's actual room there. We could build the biggest
Do you know
Ferris
that the
wheel.
original concept for Lakeview did actually, now that you say that.
Why can't we have a Ferris wheel? Let's have a Ferris wheel.
We can.
You're the mayor. You can make it happen.
Okay, for you, Khaled, I'll see about that Ferris wheel.
And we're out.
Okay.
Okay.